you'll understand why this is. I do mean this, but I also don't really like Greg Land's art. We've actually seen some of it tonight, and I actually liked what I saw in some of the artwork, some of the artwork that Troy was showing us. And I thought, oh, he's getting better. Okay, but you'll see what I mean. I know we have at least one parent in the audience. You might want to get your mom's censorship hand ready, because it starts kind of provocatively.
You know my children.
All right. So Bryan Cronin is a comic book critic that I like a lot. He writes for Comic Book Resources, and you can see he sees Greg Land as harmful, not in a social sense, but in an artistic sense. He has a limited supply of poses. Cronin cites his terrible art and his terrible storytelling. The people who don't like him really don't like him. I think that's a little extreme. You'll see he can do good work, and I'm going to show that tonight. The AV Club cites his layouts and poses as being repetitive, lifted outright from pornography and lingerie models, and doing the bare minimum of work required with Photoshop to make it look like his own drawing. And he has even admitted to relying on photo sourcing. All artists use photo reference. My dad is an artist, and he had 8 children, and we all were photo reference at some point for things he needed to draw for his personal artwork. He's also an ad man, kind of like Don Draper, but with male pattern baldness. And so we were always, involved in his art in some way. So photo reference is something that artists do. So we're going to give Greg Land that. So this is a picture of Satana, a Marvel character in a very practical pose. I mean, maybe she could do that for 2 seconds. That seems very difficult to stay in that position. So this is directly lifted from a picture of Pamela Anderson. Barely changed as far as the general silhouette. Here he has flipped a Sports Illustrated cover and used that as the basis for this cover of Sojourner. He's so reliant and photo reference. Wizard magazine said, "Hey, can you tell us why you're so great at using photo reference?" Which I think is funny, because he has this picture of Rebecca Romaine Stamos from Sports Illustrated, and it just seems to be, I think he's rightly criticized for relying way too much on photo reference, and to hit a couple themes we've heard tonight, over-sexualizing female superhero characters. Now, here he's directly swiping Brian Hitch. Greg Land, an expert panel before he got here, decided that Greg Land is on the left, and Brian Hitch's original work was on the right. So he flipped it. Pretty direct lift there. I did not make this collage, by the way, in some of these. There are websites and pages on the internet where people just enjoy destroying Greg Land and criticizing him to no end. So in some ways it was easy for me to find these examples. Here's some pictures of the Thing. You can see he has only 3 different expressions for Ben Grimm, and he just must copy and paste them from his file. From a file on his computer when he's required to draw the Thing again. Okay, he just flips it left and right, and he's done. He also recycles his own work, as we see here, 3 different times. Also, there's this trend to have screaming women. They're always yelling something. I put this up here because in the middle, that's actually not Greg Land, as you can tell. It is a different artist. I don't know the artist, but it's a far superior version of Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. Because on the left, that's him drawing Ms. Marvel, but it looks just like the other women because he just has a generic female face that he uses. He's not the only comic book artist who is guilty of that. A lot of artists should need to work more on differentiating the faces. But clearly the middle version, not by Greg Land, is superior. Here's one of his most notorious examples. He was asked to draw the cover of Spider-Woman 1. I think this is a fastball special, and the other character is throwing Spider-Woman. Either way, where are her legs? They look like they've been sheared off, and it's just pretty odd. An artist decided to redraw this and show how you could improve this picture with some more realistic anatomy. So we have Greg Land. We clearly see why he has some deficiencies as an artist. But let's talk about how comics are made, and let's see how even an aggressively adequate artist can do something really special. Because I'm going to show you one of my favorite 2-page spreads in 40 plus years of reading comics. And he drew it. Well, you start with a script. So this is actually an example from House of Secrets, a DC Vertigo title, written by Bill Willingham. And if you look on the left, you can see he has what's called a full script, where he describes individual panels, what should go in each panel, and the dialogue for the panel. On the right, you see the thumbnails by David Peterson, who you might know from Mouse Guard. So the artist gets the script, produces a set of thumbnails. Here I've repeated the thumbnails on the left. On the right is the finished pencil and ink work for that page. So at least 2 people collaborating. You'll see it's obviously much more than 2 people. Here's another example from Bill Willingham. I got this from Todd Klein's website. He's a Eisner-winning letterer. So we have the pencils on the left, very finished pencils by Mark Buckingham. And then he's inked by Steve Leoloa. Then Todd Klein comes in and does the dialogue and the word balloons. And the colorist, Lee Lowridge, has colored the page. On the left, that all comes together to make a beautiful page of comic art, and it's from this particular issue of Fables. So you have 4 or 5 people working together to make something. And if one of those people is a weak link like Greg Land, you can still make something special if the rest of the team is helping that weak link do something better. So here's our team. Matt Fraction on the left, Greg Land on the right. Looks like a nice guy. He clearly has a large collection of Playboy and Victoria's Secret catalogs, as evidenced by his artwork. But they worked together on several issues of Uncanny X-Men. I'm going to show you a scene from issue 515. By the way, the cover, that is not Greg Land, that's Terry Dodson. Okay, so Matt Fraction is an acclaimed writer. He's written some of the best comics of the last 5 to 10 years, including Hawkeye and Sex Criminals. Also, you should check out his Iron Man run, which he started around the time of the first movie. And he also wrote Odyssey, which is a science fiction, gender-flipped version of the Odyssey.
Super weird.
Around 2009, though, he was writing X-Men. So in this issue, the X-Men are living on Asteroid M, except Asteroid M is not in space anymore. It's now an island off the coast of San Francisco, and a lot of mutants and the X-Men are living there, and they call it Utopia. So it's a place where they can live free from anti-mutant prejudice. And they have a okay relationship with the mayor of San Francisco, who helps them out from time to time. Has anyone read these stories?
Some of them.
All right.
The whole
So here are 2 different scripts that Matt Fraction did. On the left is a full script he wrote for Howard Chaykin for Satellite Sam. His relationship is different based on the artist. Howard Chaykin wants full script. So that's what Matt Fraction gives him. So it's breaks down the panels pretty specifically. For Hawkeye, when he works with David Aja, he gives him a plot. So what you see there is everything for page 9. And then David Aja goes and lays that page out the way he wants. Then it comes back to Matt Fraction, and he writes the dialogue. That's also called the Marvel method, because it was a way to really crank the art out. I think it sometimes gets a bad rap because it implies an assembly line, but I love that style. It's kind of like, I would think, like a musician, like a band working together to write a song. Everyone gets to contribute. All right, so I'm going to show you a scene from this issue of X-Men. I just love this scene. I'm going to call it Morning Tea. And I'm going to show you my version of it because I don't want to spoil the real version because it does something really special with the text. So here's a 2-page spread. I blocked out the text because I don't want you to see it right now. In the bottom right, that is. So at first we're coming in on Utopia. We see some seagulls. Zoom in on a window. Who's in that window is Dr. Eureka Takaguchi, who is a scientist who's been helping the X-Men. He helped them figure out how to get Asteroid M up and running as a facility. He's really just there to be offer his brain power. You can see he's an elderly man who's just hanging out in bed, looking out the window, watching the seagulls. Good morning, doctor. Then Betsy Braddock or Psylocke comes in. Feeling any better today? I brought you some nice oranges, a pot of oolong, and this morning's Asahi Shimbun Japanese newspaper. And notice the little caption box. I call it a bio box. Matt Fraction used these a lot because he had so many characters in the X-Men. He wanted to remind you each month who this person was and what they could do. That's going to come up later. It's nice here. I'd like to stay, says Takaguchi. Oh, I think that's a lovely thing to say, Doctor. If you feel up to it later, we can go tell Scott and Emma ourselves. What do you think? I'd like that. Shall I pour your tea? Yes, thank you. Now that is not what goes on there. I just want to distract you a bit because the ending, the way the scene ends is really good. So, little sidebar here. Yuriko Takaguchi's first appearance is in Godzilla #1. So Matt Fraction had a lot of fun. He said, I want to pay tribute to this comic I loved as a kid. Matt Fraction is roughly the same age as me. I'm 47. So I remember buying Godzilla and loving that comic book. And so he was part of the scientist team that unleashed Godzilla. So he feels a certain degree of guilt about that. In issue 506, Beast and several X-Men go to Japan, or an island off the coast of Japan, to find him because they want his brain power. They want to recruit him to help out with the X-Men. All right, so I'm going to skip this for time. So let's talk about text in comic books. Now, comics are a visual medium. We have other visual mediums that we enjoy, like movie and TV. A lot of times text is just transcription, subtitles for maybe for different language purposes. Maybe hearing impairment, maybe you don't speak the language of the actors. Or we are depicting texting. But other than, say, the title at the beginning of the movie or the title at the beginning of the TV show, maybe title cards in a silent movie, but generally we don't really need that text. In comics, you need the text, and there's a really unique relationship between the visuals and the text. So here's a traditional caption from issue 110, where we have the author, the omniscient author, setting the scene in these pink boxes. Those have fallen out of style. They've been out of style for quite a while now. Now what Matt Fraction was doing was, again, what I call these bio boxes, where he reminds you who these people are, what their powers are, and he always throws in a little joke or a little contextual note, especially here with Hisako Ichiki, psionic protection field. A little scared right now. So he's having fun, but he has a lot of fun with these. They're not purely informational. They're also narrative and contextual in nature. So let's go to Morning Tea Original, because this is good stuff. So zoom in on the island. Here's the window. Here he is enjoying a peaceful moment before morning tea. Betsy Braddock comes in. It's nice here. I'd like to stay. Oh, I think that's a lovely thing to say, Doctor. If you feel up to it later, we can go tell Scott and Emma ourselves. What do you think? Doctor? And he dies. I absolutely love this. And it doesn't hurt that my dad, who passed away in 2013, he had a goatee like that, so it just kind of resonates for me on a personal level too. So let's talk about time in comics. So if we're watching a movie or TV, if we pause it, that's an artificial stopping of the story. It even, at least on our VCRs years ago, we would give distortion. It's unnatural to pause the story. It just happens to you. We only pause it to go to the bathroom. If we're talking about a traditional celluloid film, you'll literally destroy the story if you pause it. because the film will melt right on the projector. But in comics, and this was mentioned earlier today by Zach, you can flip the page. It's okay to pause it. It's okay to go back and reread. It's part of the process to pause and enjoy the art, just the way that Dr. Takaguchi is enjoying looking out the window, looking at the seagulls during his last 5 minutes of life. So that's what's fun about comics. You get to control the pace. Actually, you work with the creative team to control the pace of the story, and you can put the brakes on it and just enjoy moments in a way that would be weird if you paused a TV show. We don't pause a TV show and ponder it. We just don't do that, or movies. Now, in defense of Greg Land, he created this nice piece, but I think it was Matt Fraction that helped him create this amazing moment. Also, he works with the Hero Initiative, and he gives of his time and of his art to make sure that comic creators who have no retirement plans and no medical insurance can get assistance when they need it. So he's a good person, even if he has a stack of Victoria's Secret catalogs in his drawing studio. That doesn't look right. Should say you can't keep an adequate artist down because he's rejoining the X-Men this summer. They want him back to draw more X-Men comics. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you.